So you just learned that your company is subject to the new climate accountability laws in California, and now you're wondering, what do I do? Welcome to Vault Forward, Climate Vault's video series dedicated to helping you navigate your climate action journey. I'm Lindsay, and today we're going to be discussing 7 actions your company can take this year in order to prepare for the upcoming California climate regulations impacting your business. First, note the legal requirements. California's Climate Accountability Package, composed of SB 253 and 261, is designed to enhance transparency and accountability. They require organizations to disclose their climate change-related threats, measures being taken to address those risks, and the public reporting of greenhouse gas emissions. I know there's a lot of information here on the screen, but don't worry about taking a screenshot. You can grab this information in the link to our article in the comments section. So first things first, are you certain you're even regulated by the laws? What are the key timelines and details of the laws that impact your business? If you're not certain on these questions, we highly recommend seeking credible legal counsel. And if your business is subject to the laws, we suggest not only monitoring the development of regulations in 2024, but actually participating in the California Air Resources Board, or CARB, rulemaking process. CARB is tasked with the implementation of these laws, and their board meetings are open to the public. They're typically held monthly, and your organization can submit comments on meeting topics. Number 2, understand reporting frameworks and your organization's capabilities. If you're subject to the regulations and your organization is not already measuring its emissions in accordance with the Greenhouse Gas Protocol, also known as the GHGP, it's time to become familiar with the standards. The GHGP is the most widely used international standard for measuring and managing emissions. While it has several guidelines for carbon accounting, the corporate standard and the corporate value chain Scope 3 standard are likely going to be the most relevant for your disclosures. You also need to develop a thorough understanding of your company's climate-related risks in the Task Force on Climate-Related Financial Disclosures Framework, also known as the TCFD, as SB 261 requires disclosures to be in alignment with the TCFD. Understanding these climate risks based on reliable data is important to your insurers, investors, and lenders for informed decision-making and valuation. It will be important to assess your organization's capabilities, processes, and existing systems against the requirements of each regulation. This will highlight what your gaps are, where you need to dedicate resources, and will help inform a plan for compliance. Questions to consider may include, does my organization have the internal expertise, or do we need to look externally to develop this capability? Do we need software that can help bring together data from multiple sources and automatically calculate emissions for us? Do we have the proper controls on climate reporting in place? Partnering with external experts or using carbon accounting software can help build the capabilities of your organization's internal teams for dealing with the requirements. Number 3, engage key stakeholders. Reporting on climate is a cross-functional project. Because the data needed for complying with climate disclosures is decentralized, it requires input from various functions throughout your organization. For example, facilities and operations are likely to be the data owners for Scope 1 and 2 emissions, like fuel purchases and utility records. Accounting or operations may be the data owners for certain Scope 3 emissions, like records of procurement from suppliers. And finance and legal teams are critical to dealing with risks and preparing for audits. Boards also play an important role for complying with these regulations and directing the organization's strategy for risk mitigation. Under SB 261, organizations will be required to disclose information about the board's role in the climate program of your business. Because this data is scattered across the organization, we recommend using carbon accounting software to centralize data and enhance coordination. Number 4, establish a clear plan for gathering data. Accuracy in climate data requires strict governance, so it's critical to establish internal controls early on. Your internal controls should be documentation of the data, processes, methodologies, systems, assumptions, materiality thresholds, and estimates used to prepare an inventory. Effective internal controls create a governance system that develops efficient collaboration, leads to more credible reporting, and ultimately builds confidence in your climate disclosures. Being subject to California law, it's likely that this data will face a degree of scrutiny that your organization may not have previously experienced for its sustainability reporting in the US. Because of this, we recommend that organizations think of, manage, and report their climate data with the same degree of rigor as their financial data disclosures. Number 5, measure your emissions to create a GHG inventory. Measuring your organization's climate impact is not only required, but it also provides insights on your largest sources of emissions. So once you understand your environmental impact, you can then take informed action to reduce emissions and costs. If your organization is new to measuring emissions or does so outside of the GHGP standard that we mentioned earlier in this video, there are a few key steps needed to create an inventory and achieve meaningful climate impact. That includes planning, collecting data, calculating emissions, having your data audited, and lastly, reporting, analyzing, and implementing strategies based from your GHG inventory. I do want to specifically call out Scope 3 here, because collecting the inputs needed for Scope 3 will come with its own unique set of challenges, such as data availability, data decentralization, and supplier engagement. Scope 3 emissions are typically outside the direct control of an organization, but because disclosure is required by SB 253, it empowers your organization to have a very transparent conversation with your suppliers about climate impact, influence, and responsibility. Keep in mind, not all suppliers may have the resources to measure their emissions, which is why we recommend approaching the conversation as a partner, not necessarily as a client making demands. Number 6, consider automation. I probably sound like a broken record on automating your carbon accounting with software, but it's because it makes creating a GHG inventory so much more accessible and easier and provides you with audit-ready documentation. Time is our most precious resource, and we simply believe in dedicating our time to the most efficient ways of creating the maximum climate impact. Use this year to work towards a minimization of manual data entry and calculations to reduce the chance of human error and save significant time for your teams. For example, instead of manually entering in utility bill data and manually applying emission factors, use software that will allow you to integrate with your utility account or bulk upload your bills and automatically log your energy consumption data in order to be more efficient. Number 7, get assurance. Remember grade school math class where the teachers always instructed you to show your work as to how you came to your result? At a high level, that's what assurance is. Auditors want to see how your organization calculated your emissions and where all the data was sourced. This is why it is so critical to implement and document those tight internal controls of your organization's carbon accounting data, sources, calculations, and processes that I discussed earlier. If your organization is subject to SB 253, you will be required to hire a third-party auditor for your GHG measurement. Limited assurance for Scope 1 and 2 begins in 2026 and will evolve to reasonable assurance in 2030. The law currently also requires limited assurance for Scope 3 starting in 2030, but that provision will be reviewed by CARB in 2027. It's also important to make sure your assurance provider meets the standards set out by SB 253, because not all auditors are qualified to provide assurance for the new climate disclosures. 2024 is going to be a critical year for preparing your disclosures under California's Climate Accountability Package and will require a proactive and strategic approach. If you're impacted, you need to start gathering data now. While some of this may appear overwhelming if you're new to climate reporting, it's important to understand these regulations are not designed to impose an undue burden on you. Instead, they're designed to help your organization decarbonize, mitigate exposure to climate-related risks, and act on opportunities that are good for your business and bring us closer to meeting global climate targets. You can learn all this and much more by checking out our new blog on preparing for California's Climate Accountability Package, linked in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time for another edition of Vault Forward.